Honorable Raksha Mantri Ji, Shri Rajnath Singh, I am extremely grateful to him for having, despite all his other commitments, accepting our request to be here this evening. I have had the privilege of working with him in Kashmir for 4.5 years till I left the state. I am grateful to all the distinguished guests here this evening for accepting our request to participate in this important program. I particularly recognize General Sharma, former Chief of Army Staff, in whose time I was also in the Ministry of Defence, and many other good friends, General Ranveer Singh and others. And as the Editor-in-Chief mentioned just now, amongst the many uniform ex-officers, ex-service officers, General Mehta represents that generation of young officers who participated in this conflict and participated successfully and heroically. Now, I have a little limitation of time, and originally I wish to say certain things, but there is Raksha Mantri Ji has to meet another very important assignment, and I will try to be brief. There again, sir, now this may act against my interest now. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Sir, I, with your permission, just wanted to say briefly, why is the Tribune and the Tribune group of newspapers located in Chandigarh, managed and run by the Tribune Trust, involved with this event? Why have they thought it necessary to put together a book on the 71 war? And the simple answer, I will give brief answer, is that the Tribune was set up in 1881 by the great visionary, patriot, philanthropist Dyal Singh Majithia, who had amassed considerable wealth, but he was extremely anxious to see that an illiterate mass of population, particularly in northern India, which was way behind Bengal and Madras and Bombay presidencies, to liberated from fanaticism, from bigotry, etc. And he left his entire wealth. While during his lifetime he made 3 wills. He wanted an excellent college for higher education. He wanted an excellent library for books to be read by ordinary people. And he wanted a very good newspaper to spread news, information, and awareness, particularly in the context of the colonial rule and in the context of the freedom struggle, which had begun by that time. The Tribune has had its area of jurisdiction or influence entire northern zone, entire northern India, today comprising Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, Union Territory of Chandigarh, Haryana, and Punjab, parts of Rajasthan, parts of Western UP, which we consider it as our dominance area. Now, this area, as all our good service officers present here today will agree with me, is the catchment area for young Jawans, young officers, not only joining the 3 services, sir, but also the armed forces of the Indian Union, the paramilitary, the state police, plus the central police organizations. So we have lakhs of families who have contributed their sons, their fathers, to the armed forces of India, and we are very sensitive and particular about reporting their interests, their causes, and their concerns. Tribune has had a very tumultuous evolution over the years. Apart from the national freedom struggle, the very tumultuous events of the 1920s, particularly Jallianwala Bagh, our editor, who was a Bengali gentleman, and our editor for no less than 23 years, for writing very tough editorials, he was arrested, jailed, and our newspaper was stopped from publication. And who do you think rose to defend him? No less than Mahatma Gandhi. He defended our editor. He defended the Tribune. He spoke against, very, very aggressively, against the Rowlatt Acts, which had brought the whole of Punjab, then Punjab, undivided Punjab was enormously large in size, from Peshawar to Agra almost. It had brought enormous disorder and tumult in this entire area. So we have a grand relationship with the leadership of our past times. As our newspaper is called, a subtitle, we are the voice of the people, because our founder Dyal Singh Majithia had particularly ordained, he had mandated, he had advised that you must represent the grievances of the people, the complaints of the people, and the failings of the government of the day, without being partisan, being secular and liberal in approach. I feel very proud in mentioning that despite various circumstances which have influenced our functioning, in even free India after 47, the Tribune has, I claim, kept the word of the founder in terms of its neutrality, non-political attitude towards reporting, editorial policies, and being fair to the people of Punjab and the polity which rules the entire northern region. So to celebrate the 1971 war, which enjoyed its golden jubilee last year, we had started a year earlier inviting serving officers, ex-servicemen particularly, to start contributing their recollections, their anecdotes, their experiences of the 71 war. And we have not put together everything we have, but for 1 year, every Sunday, in the Sunday edition, we used to bring up these special articles. And besides these articles, some of our ex-chiefs, deputy chiefs, general rank officers in the three services have also contributed to the book. And we have particularly devoted a section of the volume to the winners of the Paramveer Chakra, Mahavir Chakra, and the Padma Awards. So this book, in one word, is devoted to the recalling the history and the memory of our fallen heroes, and to make the present generations aware of this great war. Now, going a little further, I would say that why is it necessary to be so incensed about the importance of military histories? I would say that the upcoming generations of military leaders and commanders, they need to be aware when they are gentlemen cadets, officers in training in various academies, they need to be aware of what great battles the Indian Armed Forces fought, which of them they won, which of them they lost, why did they win certain conflicts and why did they lose certain conflicts. These lessons are learned from a good study of the histories of war, past wars and conflicts. And I have a little grievance. I have served in the Defence Ministry for many years, and I kept on arguing then, now I don't say anything, that we have been guilty of delaying the publication of military histories. But now recently, the last 7, 8, 9 years, I think most of the histories which were finalized when I happened to be in the ministry, and General Sharma was there, these were kept in the shelf for almost 25 years. And now, about the war, General Mehta will be saying certain things shortly, but I would say, as a civilian who has served in the Ministry of Defence and served elsewhere in the country in areas of internal disturbance and external disturbance, that the kind of cohesion, the kind of jointness, the kind of collectivity of effort between the three services, between the intelligence agencies, between the central police organizations and the states of Tripura, Meghalaya, Assam, West Bengal, the entire civilian authorities, the cohesion which was brought together to deliver a fatal punch to the adversary when the war was won. Of course, there are details of operations and how things happen. But I would say, looking back and having worked in this arena for a good many years, that this kind of jointness, this kind of excellence of cohesion has not been witnessed before or after. But now, more recently, certain reforms have been brought in, certain initiatives have been taken, and I'm sure that the kind of jointness we are looking for between the services will be soon achieved. The three great achievements of this war, one was to dismember Pakistan. The second was to liberate from genocide and harsh treatment for almost 50 years, almost 25 years at that time, from the federal government of Pakistan and Islamabad. Entire people of East Pakistan, East Bengal, and to create a new country, a new free country, Bangladesh, was not a small achievement, this great victory. And besides, the culmination of the war changed the geopolitical scenario, not only in our subcontinent, but in South Asia and beyond. So I would say I pay great tribute to the chiefs of that time, to the police officers, the intelligence officers, to Raksha Mantri Jagjeevan Ram, who worked very quietly behind the scenes along with the Principal Defence Secretary K.V. Lal and a host of other officers in achieving this synergy, this getting together, working together without any pomp or publicity. Before concluding, I would say one other thing, and that is that the importance of military history, as I just mentioned, is not only learning from the past, but also this is for the military forces, military echelons, but for the civilians, the civilian population of the country, entire country. How much are they aware of what wars have been fought by India? Who were our adversaries? What were the ratios of these engagements? How were these wars won, or at least not lost? At what cost to the country? What sacrifices were made? Who made these sacrifices? And who remembers the fallen heroes? I think it's my strong belief that national strength, especially military strength, is not merely the number of tanks and fighters and submarines and so on. It is the national fervor, the national spirit. And that to build a national spirit, it cannot be done by sloganeering or campaigning. I think the entire youth of the country and the entire population of the country, A, must be aware of past history, be aware of the role of the armed forces, defense services, what sacrifices they made over the last 75 years, and what kind of respect and regard we should pay to the Jawan in the village and to the officers in the towns. That kind of awareness will generate a certain zeal, a certain spirit, a certain fervor, which I would call the national strength, far above the national military strength. In this context, I would appeal to Raksha Mantri ji that whenever the opportunity arises, to please consider that all the authorized histories of war, military histories, which have been made public in the public domain, if they could be translated in at least the major languages of our country and distributed in schools and colleges, public libraries, for the people at large, they must know what national security means, who our adversaries are, what are our defense forces doing, what they have to do when a situation arises, what kind of sacrifices they make for the country, which are soon forgotten, sorry to say. And this kind of awareness will go a long way in building the national strength that I am mentioning. Thank you very much, sir, once again for your kind and gracious presence here.